This has been one hell of a crazy day. Congratulations to all the newly minted millionaires that popped up today. The markets are absolutely insane. We had the most incredible... September was okay. October was amazing. November was just incredible. And December, I can't even... There's a second video. Twofers are really hard. But the numbers are crazy. Let me just spit off a couple of things. We have Tesla at $425 almost. We have Bitcoin up nearly $5,000 today, $4,700. We have MicroStrategy up $35. And I'm not even talking about all the other stuff that's going on. It's insane. It's insane. People used to criticize me. Why do you talk about Tesla? Why do you talk about MicroStrategy? Now you know. Now you know. Thank you as well, Meatball, Sir Winston, everybody for coming. Who am I missing here? All these great people. Meatball, Sir Winston, Martello, Andy in Australia, and of course, Anglo Blackson in the US. A crazy time to be alive. Stay healthy. That's the only thing I ask from you all. It is crazy. And Sean Donnelly and TND Tesla and K8 as well. Let's jump into it. There's going to be a huge OCTA. There's just so much stuff to talk about. Let's get into it. It's called the Bitcoin Arms Race. I will show you some of the crazy stacking that's happening. So when you hear people saying, oh, well, long-term holders are selling, I'll say, that does not matter. I'll show you how. This is OCTA and not financial advice. Just a guy on the internet. And thank you to everybody on Patreon. From Kale Weston says, we are Patreon members, my wife, and I watch all your videos. I've been doing so for 2 years. Appreciate that. And you've probably done very well. So well done. Let's get into the ugly news. Quite a little bit of ugly and bad news, so brace yourselves. But it's important to be fair and balanced and share the good with the bad. So brace yourselves. First of all, ugly. Yesterday, $1.5 billion was lost. Thank you, Moto. $1.5 billion. It has been a violent campaign. But please remember, and I stress it all the time, this is what the market makers do. They drive the price down so they can hunt your liquidation. Boom, wipe you out, and then take it right back up again. We saw a $10,000 swing in Bitcoin in a little over 24 hours. Madness. Unlocks for the week. Who really cares? But Eigenlayer, Cardano, ENA, IQ, never heard of that. Aptos, AXS, I think that's Axie Infinity, Stark, Say, SEI, Arbitrum, and Prime. Usual stuff. Pause there if you care. We've got too much other stuff to get through as well today. Now, a lot of people think open borders are great. They're not. They're not good for crime. They're not good for drugs coming over the border and all that good stuff. So for those of you who don't like the idea of a closed border policy, I don't care. But this is another big impact as well. This is open borders. The cost to taxpayers, billions and billions of dollars. And I know a lot of people in the medical field and nurses and doctors and staff are completely overrun with illegals. And I know they can't turn them away. And I understand that. But there's just not enough capacity. And it's a huge problem. And it's costing taxpayers $150 billion plus a year. And they're probably not even counting it all. So let's get into the bad news. Gotta get the ugly stuff out of the way. Bad news. Microsoft says nope to Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up $5,000 today. Who cares? We don't. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It doesn't care. The shareholders rejected their vote to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet. Instead, they're going to sit on melting ice cubes. So good luck to them. And shout out to Microsoft because you guys have been nailing it. They lost the internet browser war, won by Chrome from Google. They lost mobile. Ta-da! They lost search, again won by Google. They lost smartphones, again won by Apple and Google. They lost social media, won by Meta. And now they're going to lose to Bitcoin. And also, they're about to lose AI with ChatGPT to XAI. We'll talk more about that later. It's going down, okay? People say, why didn't you like Microsoft? There you go. I like execution. I like winners. Now, let's talk about other interesting. It's in the bad news category, but it's actually good news. Sometimes I don't know where to put these things. So it's in the bad news. This is fiat money laundering, that big red column on the left. We're talking $20 trillion. And the amount of Bitcoin laundering on the right. Yeah, you can't see it, okay? So, as usual, another piece of FUD dies. so funny. The FUD for years about Bitcoin mining. Now look at AI data centers, which consume infinitely more power than Bitcoin mining. Anyhow, moving on. A little bit of bad news regarding Ethereum as well from Crypto Quant. The ETH taker volume is at its lowest level on record. What the hell does that mean? What is taker volume? Well, let's dig into it with a little chart here. This shows you that big red down spike. The ETH taker volume is due to high taker seller volume, now at a record low of minus 400 million, which indicates typically very aggressive selling. Now, a similar pattern occurred before Ethereum's peak in May 2021. Despite this, there could still be growth potential. And yes, the ETFs are buying, but the long-term bag holders and everybody else is selling. So maybe it's time for the long-term OG ETH folks to offload their bags onto TradFi through the ETF. Who knows? But that's not a good sign. Also, another ugly piece of news regarding taxes from Elon Musk and Wall Street Mavericks, I think. 28% of tax now paid in revenue, taxes, tariffs, fees, etc., will go to paying interest on the national debt. Call it a third. It's going to go higher as well. So a third of all your tax dollars go to paying the interest on the debt, and that's going to soon be 100%. And that's just the nature of the beast. Not good, not good. Also, shout out to our friends in Germany. They're having their little energy crisis 2.0, as I call it. And this is from Holga. Good morning, Germany, where electricity prices are spiking again. Cloudy weather is limiting solar power generation, and the lack of wind is reducing output from the wind turbines. Things can be very still and quiet in winter under the so-called Nebel, and I hope everything gets better there. They shouldn't have turned off the nuclear plants. Just saying. Anywho, and also warning, a lot of warnings and bad news. Sorry about this. To our friends in India, get Bitcoin now. All right. India is preparing for a CBDC-driven economy. Central bank governor. That means they will be able to control every aspect of your life. Where you go, where you work, what you buy, what type of freedoms you have. It's coming. We warned you for years. Get some Bitcoin. Opt out of the system. You do not want to be under an authoritarian regime, not by any stretch. Now we get into the good news. I got lots of good news, so don't worry there. First of all, fear and greed is still smoking hot. We are at extreme greed. 78, 76, 78. It's like, it's just, just imagine everybody's just trying to grab as much as they can. Everybody's being really greedy right now. And narratives, where are we with narratives? SOV, which is store value, and layer one still win the month. Store value, including things like Bitcoin, up 176%. Centralized exchanges up 112%. Real world assets up 100%. It's been incredible last month. Bitcoin up 18.4%. This is a little old. It's gone up a little higher than that. And Ethereum 12.1% because Bitcoin is now over $101,000. Again, a very, very strong day for Bitcoin. And we're going to get into why it's so strong too and what's happening behind the scenes. Digital asset fund flows. Let's follow the money. See what's going on there. We had another record. Digital asset investment products saw the largest weekly inflows on record last week, totaling $3.85 billion, smashing the prior record just set a few weeks ago. It's incredible the money that's coming into the space. Absolutely mind-blowing. And that's a big topic that we're going to cover today. That's why I call it the Bitcoin arms race. Let's see the flows by asset. You can see here Bitcoin. So the majority of it, $2.5 billion going in there. Ethereum had its biggest weekly inflow on record, nearly $1.16 billion. And that is, again, a new record for Ethereum. And that's kind of probably what's happening here. Maybe the OGs are selling. Maybe the TradFi normies are buying. Who knows? Who knows? We'll find out soon. Also, other stuff kind of mixed. XRP, 134 million in. Who is buying that garbage? I tweeted at the top of that. It was about 178 cents or something, 182 cents. I said, this looks like a real top to me. Who would actually buy here? Anyway, that will live in infamy forever. Solana down a little bit. Cardano up a little bit. Everything is kind of mixed all across the board. But hey, it's unusual for all your bags to pump at the same time. But when most of them do, it's still quite incredible. Bitcoin season is still, this is interesting, moved a little bit to the alt season. That's because of crazy outperformance by names like XRP and Cardano. And even though Bitcoin has done very well, these other names have done better. Hence, it looks like an alt season, but I think it's, as Mando would say, a dino coin alt season, which is very unusual. Let's see what happened in the last week since I did this. This is the market divided by Bitcoin. You can see ETH beat Bitcoin by 5%, XRP beat it by 17%, SUI as well, Cardano, Sol, Binance, Tron, Avalanche, Doge. A lot of things beat Bitcoin, but it was a really good week nonetheless. Again, for the week, Bitcoin was up 5%. It's actually up even higher now because it's way over 101,000. But that's how fast these things move. And ETH under 4,000. It did breach 4,000 for a little while there, and it's fallen back down to earth. And then you can see all the other names, what they've done. Now let's get into Bitcoin because there's a lot of good stuff to really understand. A lot of people think they are too late. Too late to get into Bitcoin. Too late to buy. What do we do now? But let's check out the halving progress. This is a little cheat sheet, just a reminder of how early we are, ladies and gentlemen. We've just begun the fourth halving into a process that will span 32 halvings, or about 130 years. And this will create a steadfast and inviolable monetary foundation for the globe. That's the plan. That's the hope. We'll see. All of the world's cheap, endlessly printable, inflatable currency will sooner or later be chasing the one monetary unit, and that unit cannot be inflated or diluted. Eventually, all global resources and capital will be valued in this unit, and again, over $100,000 now, because of where we are, and because of the hardness of this thing. My hardness thesis was the whole thing that I've been obsessed with since 2017, is here. One little line. We are still early. So we'll see. Exciting times. And adoption is so important to the space too. This is from Jeremy Allaire. He believes billions of people will use crypto as a technology in their daily lives in the next 2 years. Billions. As I said, if we can get 100 million monthly active users on a chain or across all crypto, that means we'll globally have 1 billion users. And then the $10 trillion crypto market cap is easily justifiable in my math. That's the way I look at things. Big picture, 35,000 feet. You get a feel for what's happening there. But it's not just stablecoins that are being adopted. This Tether adoption is off the hook. Tether USDT wallets surged to 109 million, and they challenge Bitcoin and Ethereum user base. They do a lot more than that. They're a lot higher. The number of Bitcoin wallets is about 55 million, so that's more than double already just on Tether. And Midroy, thank you so much, my friend. So again, adoption is key. Let's talk about the arms race and what's happening. November alone, we're only 7 trading days into November. $3.7 billion has been sucked into these ETFs and Bitcoin. 3.7 billion every day. Positive, massively positive. Monday, 2nd of December, 354 million. 676 million on the Tuesday. 567 on the Wednesday, 748 on the Thursday, 377 on the Friday, and this week so far, 479 plus 438. There is no sign of slowing down. It's just boom, 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 $500 million a day. It is insane. Now, as the price of Bitcoin goes up, less and less can be purchased, but still this chart is still absolutely alarming. We are doing average consumption of Bitcoin by these 9 ETFs since October 1st is over 4,000 Bitcoin a day. Remember, daily issuance is only 450. Okay? That's bonkers. Since October 1st, 200,000 Bitcoin have been sucked into these ETFs. 200,000. It's crazy. But the people that are making the Bitcoin, they aren't even selling it anymore. So that whole idea of 450 issuance is also now false, because Marathon are in the nuclear arms race as well. They are stacking like crazy. They now own over 40,000 Bitcoin in the treasury. 40,000 Bitcoin. And they are a Bitcoin miner. My joke is always like, it's like, imagine a chocolate factory buying chocolate as well as making it. That's what we're looking at here. It's just, it defies logic. And it's not just Marathon stacking. Shout out to Ecoinometrics, Nick, for his lovely little chart here. You can see Marathon holdings going parabolic in orange, straight up above 40,000 now. But even the less aggressive players are still stacking hard. We have Riot broke 10,000 Bitcoin. And we have CleanSpark right behind in blue, about to break 10,000 Bitcoin. They are all hodling, and rightly so. Now is the time to hold. Issue shares, hold your Bitcoin, maybe even buy Bitcoin. The MicroStrategy playbook. Let's look at the miners real quick. This is my miner model because one of the many ratios, about 60 plus ratios I track. One of them is the Bitcoin held by miners and the amount of production. A lot of production actually fell back for many of the miners, especially names like HUT, down to 94. They were about 110 last month, if I recall. So it's getting harder and harder to mine Bitcoin. But Marathon are doing very well, 907. Number 2 in the box, CleanSpark, 622 a month. But when you look at this key ratio here, this is the Bitcoin held value as a percentage of market cap. All of this stuff is automatically calculated in the model. Marathon are now 55% Bitcoin. 55%. If they continue at this rate, they could nearly become like a MicroStrategy, although I don't believe anybody can catch MicroStrategy. They have too far ahead of a lead. It's getting too hard to stack. But speaking of stacking, actually, let's look at some of the other names while we're here. Hive, 36% Bitcoin. Riot, 29% Bitcoin. HUT, 27% Bitcoin. HUT used to be 50% Bitcoin, but I don't know, their market cap has grown. I think they're still one of the worst performing miners, but anyway, people love them. And CleanSpark, 25.17% Bitcoin. In fact, for some of these miners like CleanSpark, if you add up their real estate, their rigs, and their Bitcoin bag, that equates to their market cap. It's bonkers. There's no intrinsic value in the business. Anyhow, moving on from that little fun fact, who else is stacking? Well, according to Binance founder CZ, he says United Arab Emirates, aka Dubai, etc., already has Bitcoin in reserves, and it's inevitable for Hong Kong to buy Bitcoin. The game theory is playing out. Everybody is stacking, ladies and gentlemen. You may not see it. It's happening behind the scenes. Who else wants to stack? Let's have a look at this. Russia also wants to stack strategic reserve. A Russian State Duma deputy has proposed creating a Bitcoin reserve to Russia's finance minister. The Bitcoin space race has begun. Now, there's a guy called Putin, and he is no dummy. He plays 4D chess. He's very clever. He plays ahead, and he was kind of urging, he basically said to the new US president that's incoming, you better stack some Bitcoin to protect your dollar. Now, he wouldn't do this unless, of course, he already has a foothold in the space. I think Russia has been mining Bitcoin, and I think Russia have been stacking Bitcoin for quite a long time. We'll see more. It's only a matter of time before oil and gas starts becoming traded in Bitcoin. And then it's game over. But there's more stackers. This is another insane chart. This is MicroStrategy. Full disclosure, I've been in it for a long time, since 2020. It's been very good to me and everybody. But this is crazy. This is just a glimpse of the big master sheet that I keep track of and update every single day. MicroStrategy have added 234,500 Bitcoin this year. That's 234% of their bag at the beginning of the year. They've been stacking for 4 years, over 4 years, 4 years, 3 months, if I recall. But they've added a truckload more, nearly 250,000 Bitcoin just this year so far. And they're not even done yet. And they have 423,650. And they're probably going for more. In fact, I did a very detailed video. You'll see it here after this morning on the QQQ Inclusion price impact of MicroStrategy. And I don't know what happened, but ever since that video went out, it's my target for the QQQ. If it does happen and it gets included, my target based on the analysis that I did last night was the price would go to 444. Insanely, it's already added $34 today, so it's halfway to that target, which is kind of crazy. Anyhow, moving on from there, this is interesting. Ki Young Ju, who I believe is one of the top crypto quants, crypto analysts in the business. He came out and said, MicroStrategy is not in a bubble. Their Bitcoin holding premium has dropped from 240% to 99% in 4 weeks as they continue accumulating Bitcoin. If they balance NAV and Bitcoin premiums while buying, both MicroStrategy and Bitcoin prices can increase steadily without issue. Exactly. It's the money glitch. You're trading your melting ice cube for something hard. Even if the timing is a little bit off, you just have to wait a few weeks and you'll win. It's that simple. Don't overthink it, as I've been discussing for a long time. And other stackers, a shout out to Nayib Bukele in El Salvador. But apparently, this is interesting, they discovered $3 trillion in unmined gold in their country. What are they going to do with that? Of course, Nayib knows what he's going to do. He is going to ditch it. He's going to mine it, sell it, turn it into Bitcoin. That's what everybody is doing now. Everybody. Speaking of gold, which I rarely talk about unless, of course, it's related to Bitcoin, which is this. And again, this is a cool chart of the Bitcoin to gold ratio making new highs. So 1 Bitcoin now buys you 39 ounces of gold. I don't even understand what an ounce is, but apparently that's how they measure the price. And that's a new all-time high happening as the gold market itself continues to expand. Slowly but surely, Bitcoin is gaining ground as the global store of value. And it's going to demonetize gold rapidly. Okay? Sometimes it takes people a long time for the penny to drop. But then it does. And then it happens fast. And that's what's coming. Okay? So I don't even know if 34 ounces, did I say, is a kilogram or something? I know what a kilogram is. Anyhow, moving on. There's more interesting stuff too. And this ties into the hardness and scarcity because you'll see a lot of interesting things like people saying, oh, yeah, Bitcoin's never going to break 100,000 because once it does, the long-term holders will sell. It's not really a long-term holder game anymore. Let me explain with this one chart from Glassnode. The cyclical long-term holders, excluding the ultra long-term holders greater than 7 years, now hold less than 50% of Bitcoin supply. And it was over 60% earlier this year. So how much runway remains? Well, the realized HODL cap waves provide the granularity needed to assess where we are in the cycle. And that is so important. So the question is, long-term holders never, ever sell more than 20% at the top. But they've been depleted away already. So many believe a lot of the selling is actually done. But there's another cool thing. You'll see these alarming charts around the internet from CryptoQuant. And you'll see here, spending of 10-year-old coins is high. But I decided to break this down. This chart shows you the cumulative spending of 10-year-old coins on a 30-day period. And yes, it spiked, but so too has the Bitcoin price. So if you're selling one Bitcoin at $50,000, you'll see a $50,000 spike. If you're selling one Bitcoin at $100,000, you see double the spike. Same amount of Bitcoin. So the number of Bitcoin that are sold are not exactly higher. It's just the dollar value of them is higher. And the Bitcoin OGs, they say, those that are holding more than 10 years, they sold almost $1 billion of Bitcoin. $1 billion. But remember, $1 billion of Bitcoin for these OGs is only 10,000 Bitcoin. That's what one little miner bought in the past couple of weeks. Okay, so you got to have the perspective when you look at these charts. And as I said, the ETFs since October 1st have bought 200,000 Bitcoin. Michael Saylor has bought 235,000 Bitcoin. All right, the long-term holders, they kick out 10,000 Bitcoin. That's eaten in hours. So everybody, please have that perspective. The world is stacking. We just don't know it officially yet. And there's more about gold and Bitcoin. I don't think I've ever spoken about gold 3 times in my life, but here we are. Ray Dalio, he talked at an event in Dubai as well. It seems to be all happening in Dubai. He talked about countries and debt. We're talking about debt crisis, interest on debt, the debt spiral, craziness. But it is impossible for these countries to be able to not have debt crisis in years. Everything is going in that death spiral. Everybody needs to find a quick way to steer away from debt, assets like bonds and debt, and move into gold and Bitcoin. I repeat, Ray Dalio urges nation states to move into gold and Bitcoin. He's talking in Dubai to nation states, urging them to move into gold and Bitcoin. But there's so much more. I warned you, it's a big one, but there's just too much to share. DJT wants 150,000 Bitcoin to hit very early in his presidency. He is a big fan. He is surrounding himself with people that understand what this is, the RFKs of the world. I'm sure maybe one day, hopefully, Michael Saylor will have a meeting with him too. He can orange pill pretty much anybody. But he would love for Bitcoin to keep rising. He looks like at Bitcoin like he looks at the stock market, and he believes that's a benchmark for success. And this is from Axios. So we'll see if that happens. And then, last piece on gold. This one is fascinating. This is from Michael Saylor in an interview, which I thought was really fascinating. He spoke about I call it a new attack vector, is how countries can attack their enemies by dumping their gold and buying Bitcoin. So basically demonetize the enemy's gold. So if you imagine a country X, their central bank has been doing nothing but stack gold for the last 4 years because they're worried about global turmoil and everything else. Well, if you have a whole bunch of gold in Fort Knox, ditch it. That's basically what he said in code. Sell that, buy Bitcoin. You'll be better off. Get rid of the 5,000-year-old rocks. So I thought that was a very interesting spin on gold. Shout out to the gold bugs. And a little bit of crypto news, because everything is kind of all about Tesla and MicroStrategy and Bitcoin these days. A little bit on Ethereum. But Solana surpasses all other chains in 7-day NFT user adoption. Nearly 40% of all NFT stuff happens on the Solana chain, which is nothing new, but there we are. Let's look at the stock market. This is the window of time over the last 90 days. And it's a little bit out of date already because Tesla is up 82% over the last 90 days. Amazon 23%, Meta 20%, Google 25%, Nvidia 17%, Apple 11%. It has been a crazy last 90 days. But the winner of the show at nearly 90% is Tesla. It's been insane. Absolutely insane. And let's look at Tesla and look at Elon Musk for a second. Cool chart. Shout out to Sanjay. This is from Sawyer Merritt. As I always say, follow those with very high IQ and those who are very good at allocating capital. Then you'll make money. It's not hard. Don't overthink it. And do not suffer fools. 98% of the world are fools, at least in TradFi and Wall Street and analysts and media and all that crap. So do not entertain them. But Elon's net worth apparently is now at $442 billion. But it's actually probably a lot higher because a lot of these things aren't even fully valued, like Neuralink, like the Boring Company, etc. XAI, SpaceX just had a new valuation too, worth over $360 billion. Madness. That is crazy. So he's going to be the first person ever to hit $500 billion. And as I discussed yesterday, if Bill Gates held his Microsoft shares and didn't go shorting things like Tesla, he would be worth nearly $1.4 trillion. So hold on to your winners. Shed your losers. And RIP ChatGPT, as I forecasted quite a long time ago, Grok XI is taking over. It is going to smoke Sam Altman and Microsoft in the AI war. No doubt about it. Anything Elon puts his mind to, he will win. He will crush you. And there is, without divulging anything, there is a personal vendetta of how Sam Altman from ChatGPT, which used to be called OpenAI or something, which is now closed and for profit under Microsoft, revenge will be exacted by Elon Musk. That's just how it works. iRock, long time to see, buddy. Thank you so much for coming. And there is a third Giga Press coming to Giga Austin. This third one, I guess, will probably be used to print out the new Model 2s, etc. But they already have two 9,000-ton Giga Presses and other ones. This will be a third. This is from the team at Idra in Italy. So shout out to the Italians. They still have their manufacturing business going. Well done. And a cool study, too, as well, regarding EVs. Anybody that ever buys an EV never, ever, ever will switch back to a gas-powered car. That's it. This is a new global EV driver survey, which includes 23,000 people across 18 different countries. Anybody who goes from gas to an EV will never return, even if it's a subpar EV. I'm not saying it's a Tesla. Of course, anybody ever buys a Tesla, they will never buy anything else but a Tesla. That's just how it works. And the future, as Elon Musk once again says, 99% of cars will be electric and autonomous. That's it. There will, of course, be classic cars and petrol, gasoline, diesel cars running around. But to Elon Musk, it'll be like riding a horse while using a flip phone. It still happens, but it's rare. I did a Tesla video yesterday and I showed you the adoption charts and the S-curves. Watch that carefully. If you're considering buying an ICE car, be very careful because it may not have much value. Or a hybrid, it may have no value in 3 years. And this channel's about not only making money, but also saving it too. That's why I mentioned that. And I know that the petrol heads out there, they go mad. Yes, I love motorbikes. Have a petrol motorbike. That's the way to go. Not necessarily a car. And Deutsche, I covered this yesterday too, top stop pick for 2025 is Tesla. And Morgan Stanley as well with their $400 price target, and Tesla is now $425. It's amazing how slow they are. And another cool thing just on disruption, which I am a case in point, I went to get a quote for my 2 Teslas from a company called Geico. They said $8,000 a year. Now I've got both vehicles covered for $120. And if you look here at this chart from Charlie Bilello, the stickiest, most egregious form of inflation in the United States today is auto insurance, up 61%. But you want to reduce the cost of driving and the cost of your vehicle and the cost of fuel and the cost of insurance. I wrote a Substack on that with my trainer and his Subaru. Got him to lease a Tesla Model 3 for under $300 a month. He has free electricity. He can charge at his apartment complex. And I told him to get Tesla insurance too. He is saving a fortune so he can build his retire on Tesla bag, of which he's a third the way through getting to 300 shares, just from the car savings. And final piece of news, solar prices plunging, which is very good news, everybody. Free energy. As utility prices go up, people are seeking out more efficient ways of generating energy for their own homes. And the cost of solar panels has fallen to a record low and will continue to fall. And that's how S-curves work. So that'll hopefully benefit everybody. If you've ever thought about solar, maybe give it another look. It could be a lot cheaper now than it was last time you asked. Thank you to everybody and the team behind the Substack with podcasts and everything else and emails. Every slide is always collected here. Check that out and hit the like and subscribe. Thank you to everybody for watching and hope you have a good night. Thank you as well one more time to iRock007, American Beijinger. Yeah, you're up early or late. And Sean Donnelly and everybody else. Brian Baggs, appreciate you too. And K8. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.